Jai Mahamaya Ki Jai. In our last discourse, we heard about King Ravata and the spread of the solar dynasty. We'll go on to chapter 9. Vedavyasa said, O king, once on a time, the time for the Astaka Shraddha, the funeral ceremony in honor of the departed, arrived. Seeing this, the king Ishvaku ordered his son, Bhikkhukasi, O child, go immediately to the forest, and being carefully pure, sanctified, and bring carefully pure, sanctified meat for the Shraddha purposes. See that there be no neglect of duty. Thus ordered, Bhikkhukasi instantly went to the forest equipped with arms. He hunted in the forest lots of animals, but he was so very tired with his journey in the forest and got so hungry that he forgot everything about the Astaka Shraddha and ate one hare there in the forest. The remaining excellent meat he brought and handed over to his father. When the meat was brought to be sprinkled for purification, the family priest Vasista, on seeing it, at once came to know that one portion had already been eaten, and it was only the remaining part that he was purifying. The leavings of food are not fit for the sprinkling purposes. This is the sastric rule. Vasista informed the king of this defect in the food. In accordance with the Guru's advice, the king, coming to know thus the violation of the rule of his son, became very upset and banished his son, and became very angry and banished him from the kingdom. The prince became known from that time as Sasada. He did not become the least sorry for his father's anger. He just went to the forest and gladly remained there. He gladly passed his way, absorbed in religion, and sustained his life on forest fruits and roots. After some time, when his father died, he inherited his kingdom. On becoming the king of Ayodhya, Sasada had only one son. He became famous in the three lokas by the name of Kakutsa. He was known also by the other names of Indravaha and Puranjaya. King Janamejaya, hearing this, said, O Vedavyasa, how and why was the prince named Kakusta? Why was he also known by two other names? Speak all this to me. Vedavyasa said, O king, when Sasada went to the heavens, Kakutsa became king. That religious king then began to govern the country of his father and grandfather with an authority supported by a very powerful arm. At this time, the Devas suffered a defeat from the demons and took refuge to Vishnu, the infallible and the Lord of the three worlds. The eternal great Vishnu, full of intelligence and bliss, then addressed the Devas. Vishnu said, O Devas, go and pray to King Sasada. He will be your ally and kill all the demons. That king is religious, especially he is a worshipper of the highest Shakti, Divine Mother. He is a good archer and will come to help you. His strength is immense. Hearing this, Indra and the other Devas heard it like nectar from the voice of Hari. Vishnu went to Ayodhya to Kakutsa, the son of Sasada. Seeing the Devas at his palace, the king worshipped them duly and with great care. And he asked them why they had come here. The king said, O Devas, when you have favored me by your presence here, I am blessed and sanctified. My life is now crowned with success. Say what I can do for you. I will carry it out, even if it be very hard for me to perform. The Devas said, O prince, please help us and back us and defeat the demons, invincible by the Devas, and form an alliance with Indra. O king, by the grace of the highest Shakti, the Divine Mother, you have nothing unattained anywhere. So we have come to you by the order of Lord Vishnu. The king said, O Devas, I can back you and become your ally if Indra carries me on his back in this time of war. I will fight now with the demons for the Devas, but I will go to the battlefield on Indra's back. This I speak to you truly. The Devas then spoke to Indra, O Lord of Sachi, it is now your bounden duty to do this, so quitting shame, be a carrier to the king. Indra got ashamed very much, but being requested frequently by Vishnu, at last assumed the appearance of a bull, like the great bull of Shiva. The king mounted on that bull to go to the war. He fought while taking his seat on the hump of the shoulders of the bull, Kakuta. Therefore he became known as Kakutsa. The king was carried by Indra on his back, hence he was named Indrabaha. He conquered the Danavas, the demons, in battle, hence he was called Puranjaya. The powerful king defeated the demons and gave away all their wealth to the Devas. He bade farewell to the Devas and returned to his own kingdom. Thus the alliance was formed with Indra. O king, Kakutsa became very celebrated on this earth. His descendants became kings and were known as the Kutatsas, and were all very famous here on this earth. Kakutsa had one powerful son named Kakutsa by his legal wife. Kakutsa had a son, Prithu, a mighty possess. Prithu was the part incarnation personified of Vishnu and worshipper of the Supreme Divine Mother Shakti. His son was Vishvarandi. He became king and governed the kingdom. His son was Chandra. He came to be king, governed his subjects, and multiplied very much his issues. Yuvansava was one of his sons. He was very powerful and spirited. He built a nice city named Savanti, like the paradise of Indra. Bradasva was the son of the high soul Savanta. He had a son named Kuvalasva. He became the lord of the earth by the power of his arms. He killed Dunda Danava, the demon, so he was very much celebrated by the name Dunda Mara. His son was Dravasva. He governed the earth. His son was Sriman Haryasva. His son was Nakumba. He became the king. Nakumba had his son, Varahansa was his son. His son was very powerful and knew no bounds. Parasenjit had the fortunate son, Yavansa. O fortunate son. The son of Yavansa was Srimad Mandhata. He became the lord of the earth, and for the satisfaction of the Devi Bhagavati had 1,008 places built in Benares and in other chief places of pilgrimage in her honor. Mandhata was not born of his mother's womb, but was born in the belly of his father. Then the ministers tore asunder the belly of the father and got him out. King Janamejaya said, O Vedavyasa, what you have said has never seen, nor have I heard before or since. This sort of birth is highly improbable. How was that beautiful son born in the belly of his father? Describe this in detail and satisfy my curiosity. Vedavyasa said, O king, the king Yavanasva had 100 queens, yet he had no issue. The king always thought much about his son. Once the king, sorry and desirous of a son, went to the holy retreats of the rishis. On arriving there, he began frequently to respire heavily before the ascetics. The rishis became filled with pity on seeing his sorrowful condition. O king, the Brahmins said to him, O king, why are you thus powerful and distressed? What is your sorrow that is troubling your heart? Speak truly. We will surely redress your grievance. The king said, O Munis, I have got the kingdom, wealth, excellent horses, 100 illustrious chaste wives. I have no enemies in the 3 worlds. No one is stronger than me. All the kings and ministers are obedient to my call, but O ascetics, I have no son. This, my sonless state, is the only cause of my pain and sorrow. It has marred all my happiness. See, then, persons that have no son cannot in any way go to heaven. Therefore, I'm always being pained for this. You are all ascetics. You have taken great pains to learn the essence of the Vedas. So kindly order me what sacrifice is fit for me to have a son, O ascetics. If you feel pity for me, kindly perform this good work for me. Hearing the words of the kings, they were all filled with pity and with fullness of mind, made him to perform the sacrifice, whose presiding deity was Indra. For the sake of the king, that he may get a son born to him, they had a jar filled with water by the Brahmins and purified and charged that jar with the Vedic mantras. The king got thirsty in the night and entered into the sacrificial ground. Seeing the Brahmins asleep, the king himself drank that water surcharged with the mantras. The Brahmins consecrated and kept that water apart according to due rules, surcharging it with mantras for the wife of the king. But the king, getting thirsty himself, drank that water unconsciously. Next morning, the Brahmins, seeing the jar of water empty, were startled very much with fear. The Brahmins then asked the king, who drank the water? When they came to know the king himself drank the water, the Munis thought this to be an act of fate, and completing the sacrifice, returned to their abodes. Then the king became pregnant by the power of the sacrificial mantras. After some time, the son became fully developed. Then the king's minister, cutting his right side, got the son out of the God's favor, got the son out of the God's favor. The king did not die. When the ministers were troubled with the thought whose milk the child would suck, then Indra spoke out the child would drink Mandhata, my forefinger, and gave his finger into the child's mouth. For that reason, his name was Mandhata. Thus, I have described in detail the origin of Mandhata. Here ends the 9th chapter of the 7th book of the story of Kakutsa and the origin of Mandhata in the Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by VII. Maharishi Vedavyasa. Jai Mahamaya ki jai. Bole Baba ki jai. Vishveshwari Mata ki jai. Bole Baba ki jai.